Hello everybody, this is Dr. Christopher White, and in this video we're going to continue looking at igneous rocks. So this presentation is going to correspond to section 5.9 of your textbook. So in earlier videos we've spent some time thinking about how rocks melt, how the magma moves through the crust, and eventually how the magma cools and solidifies to give us an igneous rock. So now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on a few environments in which magma is generated as part of a geologic process. So the first environment we're going to look at are divergent plate boundaries. So if you remember, divergent plate boundaries are where we have two pieces of crust moving away from each other. Now, divergent plate boundaries are important when it comes to magma generation because they account for approximately 60% of all magma generated, so they are essentially magma producing factories. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this picture here. So this is a oceanic divergent plate boundary, which we would sometimes refer to as a mid-ocean ridge. Now, what can we see is going on here? Well, we can see that this piece of crust is obviously trying to move to the right, and this piece of crust is trying to move to the left. Now, that means this region in the middle here is under extension. It's being stretched. And think of it like a piece of silly putty. You take your piece of silly putty, you grip either end of it, and you start stretching out the piece of silly putty. What happens to that silly putty which is in the middle of the lump? Well, it starts getting thinner and thinner and thinner as it gets more and more stretched. And the same basic process is happening with the crust here. We are stretching this area and therefore we are thinning the crust as part of that process. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because we have thinned the crust, and that allows the asthenosphere underneath the oceanic lithosphere to rise up and fill the space, because this region here, so coming across there, up here and down here, should normally be filled with oceanic lithosphere, but it's not. Those rocks have gone, they've been pulled either way. So that allows the asthenosphere to rise up into the space that's created. Well, why is that important? Well, your asthenosphere has a temperature of 1300 Celsius or higher, so it's very, very hot. The problem is for the asthenosphere is that in most locations, let's say over here, the pressure is such that only a very, very small proportion of it can melt. Okay, so the pressure tends to inhibit the melting of the asthenosphere. Now, what happens is as the asthenosphere moves up into this lower pressure region, it's still really hot. So it's still got a temperature of 1300 Celsius or higher. And it just so happens that the melting point of mantle peridotite, which is what the asthenosphere is made from, is about 1300 to 1400 Celsius. So as soon as you take this mantle peridotite, which is very, very hot, and you bring it up into an environment where the pressure is lower, it begins to melt through decompressional melting. And we can see that summed up in this diagram here. So this brown block represents our piece of mantle peridotite. Normally, if you're over here, it's very, very hot, but the pressure is also quite high, so it doesn't melt. However, as soon as we take our piece of very hot mantle peridotite and we move it up into this lower pressure region, remember, temperature is staying constant in this instance. The temperature change doesn't, there's no temperature change, so the pressure is getting lower, and so we're forcing our piece of mantle peridotite across the solidus right here where it's starting to melt, and we're pushing it into the liquid field. So by decreasing the pressure underneath our divergent plate boundary, we encourage the mantle to melt. And we've already gone and discussed the melting of the mantle is going to produce ultramafic and mafic magma as part of that process. So what happens when this magma moves through the crust? Well, what we have here is a stratigraphic column that's showing us a section through a piece of oceanic lithosphere. So what can we see? We can see that the oceanic crust actually consists of 4 distinct layers. We have some mantle rocks down here at the bottom, so these are going to be mantle peridotites. Above that we have gabbros. These are going to be mafic plutonic rocks. Above that we have what's referred to as the sheeted dike complex. So this consists of lots and lots of vertical sheets of rock, typically basalt, that have cooled down relatively quickly. So they're not aphanitic, they're not super fine grained, but they're not also coarse grained. They're a kind of, they're just about phaneritic. You can just see the crystals in them. And then above that we have an area which is referred to as the pillowed basalts, and that's the result of magma coming out onto the seafloor. So what does this piece of crust here represent? We're actually going to go back to the previous slide. So what we'll be looking at is a slice through an area like so, going from the pillowed basalts at the top down to the mantle rocks at the bottom. So our piece of oceanic crust here represents some of the processes that are occurring at our divergent plate boundary. So down at the bottom of our oceanic crust we have our mantle rocks, and this is going to represent the source rocks for our magma. So these are mantle peridotites. We know that they, if they're underneath the spreading ridge, will be melting through decompressional melting. So what we're looking at in this stratigraphic column is this area here. Okay, so these are the mantle rocks underneath our magma chamber, so which are melting to produce the magma. Now the gabbro, which is this area here, represents the magma chamber, so the magma that's being created by the melting of the mantle rock. So the gabbro represents this area right here. So what about the sheeted dike complex? Well, the sheeted dike complex represents the magma that's being injected into the oceanic crust. So remember, the oceanic crust is being pulled apart due to the force of the magma being pushed up through the oceanic crust along faults and joints. So if we go back to our previous slide here we go. You can see there are a number of faults. We can see one here, 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 and here. So we have these vertical faults, and we can see that the magma is exploiting them. And as the magma is moving through the crust here, it's cooling down and it's solidifying and it's forming these vertical sheets of igneous rock, which we call dikes. Then finally, some of the magma will make it onto the seafloor. And when it makes it onto the seafloor, it forms a very, very distinct type of eruption style, which is called pillowed basalts. It essentially forms a eruption style that looks very, very lumpy, like you've literally taken 1,000 pillows and just dumped them into an area. You've got a very lumpy appearance to your area, and that's caused when the magma hits the seawater. So if we look at our piece of oceanic crust here, we can see we have a sample which essentially takes us straight through our spreading ridge, our spreading margin. So we have the mantle rocks, which are melting. We have the gabbro, which represents the magma chamber. We have the sheeted dike complex that represents the magma being injected through the crust. And then we have the pillowed basalts at the top that represent the locations where the magma actually managed to make it onto the seafloor. Now, I should point out that most of the magma that tries to make its way through the oceanic crust never makes it to the seafloor. Most of it gets stuck in here as part of the sheeted dike complex. Only a small proportion of the total magma produced at the spreading ridge will actually make it to the surface to form pillowed basalts. So we can see in this picture here we actually have some pillowed basalts. So this is part of what's called an ophiolite complex. This is when a piece of oceanic crust gets pushed onto continental crust, and so this means as geologists we can actually walk on it and we can analyze it and look at it. And so you can see this lumpy pattern here. So these are pillowed basalts, and these are produced when mafic lavas are extruded onto the seafloor. So then underneath that we have our sheeted dike complex, which, as I said, these are these vertical sheets of mafic igneous rocks which get essentially injected along fractures in the oceanic crust. And then, of course, we have our gabbro, and that represents our magma chamber that is actually supplying the magma to be injected into the crust to form the sheeted dike complex and the pillowed basalts. So what about the second type of divergent plate boundary, the continental divergent plate boundary? Well, the situation is pretty much the same as the oceanic divergent plate boundary. We have a piece of continental crust here that wants to go off to the right, and a piece of continental crust here that wants to go off to the left. And that means this region in the middle is under extension, it's being stretched, and that of course causes the crust to become thinned. This allows the asthenosphere to rise up, and once again we have very hot asthenosphere, we're dropping the pressure, and so of course that means we then push our mantle peridotites to the solidus and then into the liquid field. So we start melting the mantle peridotites due to the decrease in pressure. So we have decompressional melting taking place. Now, this is going to lead to the formation of a mafic magma, typically. Now, the temperature of a mafic magma is about 1,200 degrees Celsius. It's pretty hot. And this mafic magma is going to come into contact with continental crust. And the melting point of continental crust is anywhere between 750 and about 1,100 degrees Celsius. So you'll notice that the magma is hotter than the melting point of the continental crust. So I think you can guess what's about to happen. So when our mafic magma rises up, it gets stuck at the base of the continental crust, and the heat from it is going to start inducing the continental crust to melt. And so the resulting magma can do a couple of things. Either we can get a magma which is exclusively produced by the melting of continental crust, and that's going to give us a felsic magma. The other possibility is that we will have a mixture between the melting of the continental crust and some of this basaltic magma some of this mafic magma down here, and that's going to result in the formation of an intermediate magma. And these magmas, be they felsic or intermediate, will then rise through the crust where they will be erupted onto the surface through volcanoes. Now, in some cases, we can also have the mafic magma make its way to the surface unobstructed. So if the mafic magma happens to find a large fault, it can move through it where it will be erupted into the Rift Valley. So this diagram here is kind of summarizing the crustal heating process. So this is when we have our mafic magma heating up our continental crust. So what do we have? Well, we have our mafic magma here and at point A. So this is a liquid. All right, and our liquid mafic magma is going to start rising up, and it's going to begin interacting with the continental crust, which is C. Now you'll notice the continental crust is in the solid field, and obviously the mafic magma is in the liquid field. Now, by applying the heat from the mafic magma to the continental crust, we drive the continental crust to the right, and it crosses over the felsic solidus there. Okay, and so our granite will start melting right there to produce felsic magma. Our mafic magma, on the other hand, will be interacting with the colder continental crust, and that's going to cause the temperature of the mafic magma to go down, and that's going to drive the mafic magma to the other side of the mafic solidus. So it's now going to be in the solid field for mafic rocks. And so by interacting with the continental crust, it's going to cause the mafic magma to solidify and form a solid rock because it's cooling it down. At the same time, the continental crust is being heated up, courtesy of the mafic magma, and that's going to encourage the continental crust to melt, producing a felsic magma, which will then rise to the surface and be erupted into our Rift Valley. So we can see that divergent plate boundaries are essentially the source of magma production via decompressional melting, and in the case of continental divergent plate boundaries, we also have an added component of crustal heating, so thermal melting, which is the result of the mafic magma warming up and melting the continental crust. Okay, thank you for watching everybody, and have a good day.